Hello everyone, so this is going to be the mountain guide. I'm going to apologize ahead of time if you hear random background noise. There is people being noisy outside and I can't do anything about that. But also, prefacing this with, Mountain is not a character that can speedrun. He's not necessarily slow, but he doesn't do enough damage or have enough in his kit to be able to really compete with someone like Quake, or compete with someone like Rush, or even compete with the big powerhouses like Jungler, Lightning, and Sandman. That out the way though, he can still do some pretty nice damage, and it is very satisfying when you have a good run on him. As you'll see from the Protean clip beforehand, you can get some big crits and remove health bars of bosses with just a single ability. Going over the relics, I run Mountain primarily as a skill-based breaker, much like every build that you'll see on this channel usually is mostly skill-oriented, but I have 3 different setups I can present to you for your starting relics. Setup number 1 being Attack Defender, Mercy, Skill, Module, and Critical Power Shield. This is kind of similar to how I usually run skill builds on multiple breakers, apart from because of the fact Mountain is a heavyweight breaker who gets access to the flamethrower and the venom caster within the runs. I opt to put Attack Defender here instead of Giant's Neck, as you'll be able to scale this up to 200 by purchasing a venom caster and hurting yourself before you enter the boss rooms, and then letting your health generate back up to full for Mercy. Utilizing a toy worker like Medic V2 or High V2 helps with this as well, and Venom Caster does percentile health damage whilst Flamethrower does attack power based damage, so using something like the Venom Caster is optimal so you don't hurt yourself as much. Convergent Energy skill module for the 100% skill power, skill based breaker, 100% skill power on top of all the attack power that we're starting with. It's huge damage gains. And then we have critical power shield for the 100% critical damage, as Mountain is a breaker that doesn't need critical chance. It's not terrible to pick critical chance up, as it will help your other skills, but the main skill that does most of his damage, you can get it to crit automatically without having to have relics, so we opt to just favor picking up critical damage and other powerhouse relics over critical chance relics. Going over relic drop rates before we show the other 2 variants, we want critical power magazine and we want critical box in our high drop priorities, as again, more critical damage equals bigger damage. We want some skill power based relics, so you would want to put X-ray and power chip up here. I don't have it, I've been lazy and haven't shifted some stuff around, but you want to get X-ray and power chip, power box, and skill amplification magazine. Those are great things to put in here for just big skill power gains. We've got our status effect scope in here, as Mountain does most of his damage in a shock window, so anytime that you can't shock the enemy, a bad time. So we want to have our shock last longer, so that way by the time we get to the later parts of the fights, the diminishing returns hasn't completely screwed our shock and it'll last just enough time to be able to actually kill the bosses. Then we've got our attack power gaining relics. Because of how much attack power we're starting with the Mercy and Attack Defender, we'll start with at least 600 attack power, so picking up a couple of options in the run will help round that out to being 1000. And then we have status effect target and reactors. These combo together perfectly. Any reactor you get will just add a 50% multiplier onto status effect target when you get it, so this is a pickup on sight, as baseline you'll have 50% from the shock from Quake, from Mountain. Now, the other variants that I was talking about is you can drop Attack Defender. Sorry, not Attack Defender. You can do something like this. It's a little bit more annoying to run, but it does result in higher numbers. You can run a Attack Defender Mercy Turret Grease combo. This will let you start your run with 900 attack power almost. Which means that you only need to find like 1 relic to cap this. The downside to this is now you can't use your left stick, so you're forced to move around by using your jump shock, which becomes a very annoying playstyle whenever a boss moves away from you. I don't like this, but there is a slightly worse version of this that you can run, which still gives very high attack power gains, and that is using Merciless Suit. This allows you to go through your run with very, very high attack power at the start of the game, and makes it so you can pick up stuff like Convergent Energy skill module in the run as well to give you more room for damage gains in the long run. This is technically the highest DPS variant you can get, but relies on a little bit more RNG to actually find the skill power within the run. due to consistency and in a speedrun setting, you prefer consistency and high burst at the same time, I opt to run like this to remove the room for error within the runs. Going over his skills now. Sorry, I'm still a little bit sick. Going over his skills now, we start with Meteor Smash, guaranteed critical hits. This is playing into what I said before, how we don't look for the critical chance relics, and we favor critical damage. This just allows us to do big damage. And then on top of this, we want to be finding the 100% skill power and the 100% damage against shocked targets. These two basically give you the same DPS gains. So if you manage to find both of them, you're going to be doing massive damage on your Meteor Smash. We want to avoid picking up the ball in enemies and add a shock effect to the Meteor Smash, as you don't need this. You want to be shocked. The boss will be shocked already whenever you Meteor Smash, thanks to Jump Shock defaultly applying shock. We want the cooldown, so we can do this as often as possible. So to recap that, these three upgrades, sorry, the guaranteed crit, the 100% skill power, and the meteor shock damage are your main three upgrades. This will give you your biggest burst damage. And then on top of this, you want to pair it with some stuff that gives you attack power on your recoil stun. This again will help you cap out your attack power a little bit earlier. And then we also want the cooldown on recoil stun. The 200% skill power isn't terrible, it's nice, but the damage isn't that high on recoil stun, so multiplying that doesn't do much for you, but more damage is better than no damage. Then if we come over to Jump Shock, we want the 300% Jump Shock damage. They recently buffed this, and it now hits pretty goddamn hard. And you also want the 50% damage received for targets hit by your Jump Shock. This acts like Bronte's Eye of Plasma upgrade, so you'll be doing a lot of damage if you Jump Shock to the boss, apply your shock from the Jump Shock and the 50%, and then hit him with Meteor Smash. You'll be hitting extremely hard, as you'll see in that Protean clip. You want the cooldown, especially if you're playing the turret grease setup. The cooldown becomes a very high priority pickup, as this is going to be your main source of mobility. And then we also want the 100% damage against shock targets and having shock last longer. This is why we want to be applying shock with our Jump Shock and not our Meteor Smash, as this will, once you have this upgrade, it will allow your shock to last longer, as the shock that you grant from other sources that don't have that text will be at the normal duration. On his counterattacks, we don't necessarily like to counterattack, but because the way Mountain operates and how he has very limited damage, you will find opportunities to counterattack, especially like you saw in the Protean clip during his last phase. You can counterattack the balls before he jumps at you to really gain the effects of these. So in those scenarios, we want to be having the resets on your Meteor Smash and Recoil Stun. This will just mean anytime that Protean does that, and you can time it, he'll land and you'll have a Meteor Smash ready for him. And we want the 30% critical damage for 15 seconds when guarding. Now note, this says when guarding, so if you counterattack, it won't count it as a stack for this. You have to actually block the damage with the guard. But that's all really. You don't want anything else from the counterattacks. It's mainly the resets and the critical damage. In order of priority, you want to get the Meteor Smash stuff, then you would want to get the Jump Shock debuffs, and then you would want to get the Recoil Stun attack power gains. That's it really for his skills. That's all you need for his damage in terms of skills and stuff. For his Toy Worker priorities, I ran my usual high V2. This is the sort of thing really you want to be running, is a Power Dog with lots of skill power and lots of cooldown, or you can just try and get as much critical damage as possible on a Toy Worker. That's also great. But primarily try going for Medic V2 or Power Dog and stack crit damage, cooldown and skill power where you can. The system is finicky, so just use whatever best skill related Toy Worker you can. That's it really. Thank you very much for watching. Hope it's been insightful. Have some more fun playing Mountain, I guess, if you can. And I'll see you later.